Spoiler alert. Please be advised that the following video will contain spoilers for Lovecraft Country. What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. Just got done watching Lovecraft Episode 3. Wow. Okay, there's a lot to talk about in this episode. Lots of things that happened from the craziness that happened from Episode 2, which felt like a season finale in itself. So this episode definitely kind of toned it down a little bit. And I don't know about you, but like, I kept seeing a lot of different horror movies all mixed into this, you know, just at different points. It felt like, you know, the show just kind of shifted and went from like one horror movie to another. But we'll get into that. So let's just kind of go through the episode point by point, starting off with the very first shot with showing Letty in church. You know, I actually kind of like the church scene because, you know, I thought that there was a lot of symbolism going on, not just in this scene, but also in, you know, throughout the whole episode, right? And one of the dynamics that I see always going on is, you know, you'll have one thing happening here, but then you'll have like everything else around that thing just doing something completely different. So while you got all these people in church getting them some Jesus, getting some praise and worship on, Letty is sitting here like just crying, you know, and probably still dealing with all that craziness that happened before. I don't know how she's mentally processing this, but clearly, you know, with the tear down the eye, this is something that she is like really still struggling with, you know. I mean, she was shot, killed, and she saw monsters and stuff. So that's just some wild stuff. And then we get to the point with Uncle George's wife, Hippolyta. That is such a interesting name. Where she is ripping up, you know, Uncle George's book, you know, the Dracula book. Now, if one of you guys have some more insight into this, why do you think she was ripping up the book? Now, I'm thinking this is a byproduct of her having a bad attitude or just negative feelings about Atticus. Because as some of us have kind of theorized earlier, based off of episode 2, Uncle George did say, Tick might not be your son, you know, and if that is the case, some people were thinking it could be Uncle George, you know, like Uncle George could actually be Atticus's father. Now, if that is the case, I think that would actually make a little bit more sense as to why Hippolyta is, you know, kind of resentful towards Atticus. It's like Atticus can't do anything without her just having a bit of an attitude, you know, like even washing dishes, and she was tripping over that. So I'm wondering if, you know, all of this resentment and all these negative feelings have to do with maybe Uncle George's past infidelity with that, you know, ghost he was dancing with, who was probably Atticus's mother. I don't know, because I mean, you know, hey, Atticus could just be a constant walking reminder for her of a dark secret for Uncle George. Who knows? Now, later in the episode, we see that Montrose did confirm that not only have a couple of weeks gone by, but also that they had a whole funeral for Uncle George. And I gotta admit, that kind of made me feel some type of way, because I was hurt when they killed Uncle George in the first place. I thought he was phenomenal. I loved his character. But like I said last time, he knew a little too much, and they had to get rid of him. But I was still holding out hope that maybe some magic would happen and somebody would bring him back. But if they already had a funeral for him, I don't know. Like, it ain't looking too good for Uncle George. Now, I get it. There's still magic at play, so anything is possible. But I think Uncle George is done. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Uncle George can still come back? If you read the book, don't ruin it. Okay, please. Anyway, we go to Letty's new house that she just bought and that she's actually renting out to other black folks. And of course, we see the good old boys already harassing the black folks in the neighborhood with the honking horns and the police clearly in full support. And I mean, talk about trolling, right? But this is something that I kind of want to point out, that when you have an institutional entity like the police allowing racism and bigotry and discrimination to happen, this is just a small part of what is meant when people talk about racism being systemic. Because when you have one function of society backing up the other, that's how the system works. You know, and that's clearly what's on display here. These guys are harassing, you know, the black residents here, and there's nothing that they can really do about it. But look, I'm gonna tell you this: that creepy auntie in the bedroom when Letty was asleep, pulling her covers and stuff. I ain't like that. That was look. That would give me some nightmares for real. You know what that? You remember how I told you it was all these different horror movies and stuff? This reminded me of Tales from the Hood, not Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Hood. You know, because look, this was just some weird stuff going on. And then when Letty went down to the boiler room in the basement, that started to remind me of the movie People Under the Stairs. You know, classic, by the way. You should definitely go watch that if you haven't. But one thing that I absolutely loved, and like I said earlier, you know, with one thing happening and then all this other stuff going on, when Letty and the black folks were in the house and they were throwing this big party and everything, that was all in spite of that 24-hour honking, you know, that was happening outside. And I thought that was just so symbolic of how black folks historically have always found a way to persevere in the midst of the most messed up situations, you know. And in the meantime, you got the racists looking out their window and they just sitting there watching, and it's like you could see the frustration that they just can't get to these black folks, you know. And I loved like just how this little moment was just so symbolic of something that, like I said, is just historically been the case with black folks in America. Like we get in these, you know, really messed up situations and we still find a way to make the best of it and to keep moving forward. I just love that scene. But, you know, during this party, we see that clearly, like, whatever these ghosts are that are living in this house, the activity is starting to kick up. So we get the kids downstairs in the basement playing with the Ouija board. And then one of, I guess, the ghosts or whoever spelled out George is dead. Oof, look, I am not a fan. See, that's one thing I will never, you can't pay me to play with a Ouija board. I don't care if it's fake or not. I don't want to find out. I don't want to play that game. No, I don't do that, you know. And I'm just sitting here wondering. I'm like, all these little black kids, I know y'all was in church earlier. Y'all was really curious to play with this Ouija board. Okay, all right, I don't believe it, but okay, you know, kids are stupid and curious sometimes, I guess, you know. But we see Hippolyta. She's, without any question or whatever, she's drawn to this golden thing. I don't know if that's like a key or atlas. I don't know what it's called per se. Maybe one of you guys can fill me in on it, but clearly that object is going to play some role because they just randomly threw that in there, and I'm not really sure why she's drawn to it or what it is, but I'm sure it has something to do with whatever this mystery is that's, you know, continuing to unravel. And of course, you know, you can't have black folks having too much of a good time. So the racist folks just had to come in and raise it up a notch with the burning cross. But let me tell you, I loved what Letty did. She was just like, F all of this. We about to bust some windows. You know, she came in with the rest of the guys armed up, ready to go. And they was just they were going wild on them cars. I loved it because I felt like what Letty did was exactly what all the other black folks in the house wanted to do. And probably what a number of other folks watching this show wanted to do as well. Just letting go of that pent up frustration. Cause, you know, look, racism is stupid. You know what I'm saying? But like, just that momentary relief of being able to just fight against it, I could just tell that it was just so relieving. And what I loved about it was, they had that coordinated mindset of, okay, we did what we did. We know we about to get in trouble. Yo, you got the car, put the guns away. Everybody, hands up, assume the positions. And that to me was just also, I don't know if it was just telling or if it was just disturbing that black folks had that much of a mindset to know how things were going to happen. And I think that just shows how conditioned a lot of the treatment was back then, and still to this day for a lot of people. Like, it's sad that we know the script. Then we got this racist cop in the wagon. They ignored, of course, all the complaints from the black residents, but all the white residents, their complaints were listed. But now the thing that was kind of getting me was like the cop was asking Letty about the house and like how she was able to buy the house. But the thing that really got me though was the cop was like, we found a bunch of body parts at this house of a lot of black people. I'm like, body parts? Then what happened to the rest of the body? Like, what do you mean parts? So that to me was just kind of weird. I don't know if anybody picked up on that, but it was just kind of weird that he mentioned the parts and not the rest. And clearly, as we saw later on in the episode, like, whatever this crazy mad scientist doctor person was doing, he was mismatching body parts and stuff. It almost looked like, what's that little kid's name from Toy Story? It almost looked like him where he was like mismatching the toy parts and stuff. And it was, but you doing that with real people? Oh, that's some sick stuff for real. But okay, look, here's the part where this started to get way too ridiculous. So when Letty goes down to her basement and she's putting all the pictures and stuff together, and then you had this big old ghost Mr. Potato Head pop up or whatever, talking about get out my house and everything. First of all, you ain't gotta tell me twice. I'm out. I'm leaving. I ain't gotta stay there. Man, what? This is something I hate about horror movies, because I just don't feel like this is like normal. You not about to sit here, see this ghost head, just this ghost bobblehead pop up and yell at you with its hot breath blowing you away, and you about to be comfortable enough to spend the night there? Sorry, you comfortable enough to come back to the house? I mean, right after that scene, Letty's over here having an argument with her sister and all this stuff. I'm like, why are y'all in the house? What are you doing there? Get out! Like, what? What? Look, if that was me, God forbid, if I see some weird stuff like that in my house, I'm staying in the Holiday Inn until further notice. Okay? Just, that's all it is. I don't understand this horror movie logic where they put these people in these situations. It don't make sense. But luckily, later anyway, Letty had enough common sense to go ahead and get her a witch doctor lady or whatever to try and exorcise, all these ghosts from the house, and to protect, do some protection or whatever, from these evil spirits. And of course, while we can't even deal with one situation, now you got the three other racist dudes coming in and they want to start some issues. They want to, get things going. And at this point in the show, I was sitting here thinking when the other ghosts actually started coming in and attacking the racist guys, I was like, yo, now this feels like, what's that movie? 13 Ghosts. It feels like it all the ghosts just get released and now they just attacking everybody in the house. I was with it. I was like, yo, this is cool. And I have to say, when that baby head basketball player, he had me kind of cracking up a little bit, just, that was just kind of funny to me. I don't know why. It was stupid, but it was kind of funny. But yo, when they did that elevator scene, when the racist dude got his face chopped off, they didn't have to leave the camera on his face like that, just pumping blood and stuff. God, that was a lot. Now, when the possession started, that's when things obviously were starting to get real wild. But I like how this was shot. You know, I like how all this like was shot. Again, I feel like a lot of this stuff was symbolic. You know, you had the black victims of the racist Winthrop guy, you know, coming together to exorcise him from the house. You know, they joining in that circle with Letty to fight against him, and because they were stronger together, you know, to fight against this really evil dude. And I really liked how, as they were going through this process, you know, their bodies were starting to become whole again, you know. And again, it's just, I love just how that represents that when they were able to fight off or shrug off, you know, or exorcise this demon, it made them whole again. And I just thought that was really cool that they were able to depict that with this scene. I'm guessing that the racist dudes that got killed, they got dumped under the elevator or whatever, or in that. First of all, that thing looked creepy as ever. You saw all them dead bodies in there too. There was like all these skeletons and stuff. I'm like, what is under this house? Because it looked like a whole tunnel or something, you know, like who knows where that goes to, and I don't know, but I would never go find out. That's one of them things, like if I was living in that house and I found out there was a bat cave under there or whatever, I'm like, nope, I don't need to know nothing about that. I'm straight. So now we get to the end of the episode and we find out that Christina is alive. Apparently she didn't feel like being salty like her daddy, so she managed to make it out, I guess. And Atticus puts it together that basically Christina found a way to like give Letty the money, you know, to make it look like the inheritance from Letty's mom. Clearly Christina has some sort of motive here. She wants whatever's in that Winthrop house, I guess. I don't know if it's that gold thing, maybe, that Hippolyta had. I don't know. But it sounds like that she is interested in the lost pages from the Book of Names. Because apparently the Book of Names not only is a way to decipher the language of Adam, to, you know, get back to the Adam and Eve, the garden and all that, but apparently you can also cast spells and do magic with it. So the sons of Adam, you know, they had just a couple pages, you know, or a page or two from the Book of Names. And with those pages, they were able to do all these different spells and stuff. And Christina's father, apparently, he had the spell or the ability to cast the spell of invulnerability. So now that explains why this dude was sitting here getting sliced up, you know, passing out his spleen or whatever for people to snack on, you know, and didn't even need any anesthesia or anything. So like now at least I guess that makes some sense. But as Christina said, that he had to like give that invulnerability up in order to do that spell to try and open up the gates or the door to the Garden of Eden. So if I'm understanding this correctly, both Titus and Winthrop were both like founders of this Sons of Adam cult or whatever. And Winthrop had his own set of pages. And now I want to say Christina is looking for that to see what type of spells or what type of magic that can be gained from that knowledge. And here's the other thing though. If Atticus's great-great-great-great-grandmother, when she was leaving out the burning building, out the burning house, if she's got the Book of Names, whew, and if only a couple pages can do, you know, whatever spells and magic and stuff that this cult is able to do, then man, I'm just wondering what happens if Atticus finds the whole book. Then like that's gonna turn things upside down. So we'll have to see. You know, I thought this episode was interesting. It definitely had a little bit more exposition, even though it had more of the horror elements to it. It was definitely a toning down compared to what we got in episode 2. So I'm definitely I'm satisfied with this episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the next one. So you let me know, what did you enjoy about this episode? What did you not like about it? Did you find any other interesting information in this episode? That, please, if you find it, share it in the comments so we can talk about it. Because I'm learning from you, and hopefully, I'm able to provide a little insight for you all too. But anyway, this is great. I'm still loving this show. Can't wait for episode 4. I will definitely be checking that out. And I hope you're still here with me. So you know what it is. Right after the show, come on back next week. And I'll be right here giving my reaction and talking about episode 4 of Lovecraft Country. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all. And until next time, I'll see you all later.